Yesterday, I treated myself to checking out Ready Player One on Blu-ray. Warner Brothers sent me the disc to review for you guys, and it's been a while since I saw it in the theater. I saw it with Johnny Millennium for Film Fury, and we both had a really good time at the movie. And yes, we recognize that the story for Ready Player One on screen, as directed by Steven Spielberg, is a different story in lots of ways from the Ernie Klein book of the same name. It's not exactly the same, material, but I think what's distilled onto the screen is a very loving homage to everything that's been painted in the book by Ernie Klein. This is a movie that's so rife with lots of detail and so many layers to kind of, sift through and recognize all of the sort of elements that are popped into this movie. And I think it was built like that. It was crafted to kind of almost congeal all of pop culture that we have known and loved since the 1980s. Of course, it's a huge tip of the hat to everything from the 1980s. People are wearing Michael Jackson jackets. We're seeing Freddy Krueger pop up in there. We're seeing all kinds of, famous movie characters and famous characters from the comic books. Of course, there's tons of video games and stuff in this movie as well. And it's incredible. And it's almost like your action figure collection has been, brought to life, and you get to jump in and you get to experience all of these different characters. Cynically, it does feel like, somebody went sort of picking at all of the hottest properties out there that they could afford, and they licensed them and they got them into this movie. And you can kind of read the credits at the end of the film and you can see exactly who was talked to: Bethesda and Blizzard and all kinds of other people that we know and love that make us great things. But it does feel I think also in the hands of Steven Spielberg, it does feel a little bit like it's a licensed property unto itself. It's like a churn of all of these licensed characters that we love. That's not to say that it's not incredibly enjoyable, and that's not to say that the root of our love for these properties isn't genuine, because it is. And I think that's what Ernie Klein was tapping into when he wrote the book, is that these pop culture, elements, these movie moments, these videos, these comics that we read, these television shows that we loved, they all did matter to us in this generation. And so to see this culmination, it's really thrilling. It's really fun. Could it have been a better film? I think so. I think absolutely there could have been. I've said this before, but I think it's really missing a lot more Steven Spielberg properties in here. There's no Indiana Jones. We're not getting Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And those are seminal works. So many of his films are seminal works that I think should have been incorporated in the tale and in the storytelling. Watching the behind the scenes on this movie, at first I said, look, Spielberg probably shouldn't have directed this. He should have produced it, and he should have let somebody else kind of honor him and give him the homage. But when I watch the behind the scenes and I see the childlike enthusiasm that Spielberg had for this great challenge at certain points in the making of stuff, which is absolutely incredible and absolutely makes this disc a must-watch. It's not just everybody kissing everybody's butt and telling people how great everybody is to work with. There's some of that for sure, as there is in almost every behind the scenes. What's really impressive is to see Spielberg genuinely interact and work with the actors and work with the crew and, come forward with the fact that he was really directing like 4 different movies at once. He was directing the live action stuff, which he shot on film. He also picked up the camera and did some VR filmmaking inside of the VR space. There's also the idea that the digital comes to life in the real world as well, and there's a physicality to the real world sets, which we explore. Spielberg worked with the production designer that had been working with Wes Anderson's film, so there's an attention to detail there, which is really well represented. I don't think there's anything that you can really say to fault the production design or even the cartoony, video gamey aesthetic of all of the, the CG rendered animated sequences. It's all so thrilling. I think what's missing from here maybe is just a little bit more menace, a little bit more meat. But I really love this experience of revisiting Ready Player One. I think this is a phenomenal disc. You can certainly have complaints and quibbles with this thing for sure, but this needs to be collected, particularly if you're a fan of shows like The Electric Playground. I'm going to give Ready Player One on Blu-ray a 9 out of 10.